Welcome back. Another edition. Finally get another edition of the Down and Back Cornhole podcast. I've been a little busy with opens and conference events, and I've got to welcome Suzzanne Schalo to the show. You probably heard her. She got to sit along with me co-hosting in Calgary for the some of the pro events. So, Suzzanne, welcome to the show.
Hi, Doug. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
Well, we had talked about this, on when we're doing the live feed there, and then even after. Well, you coming on to kind of talk about your experiences here, because you're also a director in the Pacific Northwest. That some players can maybe come down and get some other ACL experience that are in BC and even Southern Alberta.
Oh, for sure. So I'm a regional director in Northwest Washington, and I hold my regionals in Bellingham, which is about half hour, 40 minutes from the border. So we have a handful of players that come down and play at the regionals, and occasionally when we have a local points night that's really close to the border as well. But we would love to see more Canadian players come down and play. I have a list of dates. I have a regional on May 11th, and everybody can register through iplaycornhole.com. It's super easy to find my events. All you have to do is type SUZZ in the search bar. I'm the only one.
Well, I'll also put a link. I'll get all those dates for you. I'll put a link in the description of the show as well, because I think it's great, because really Bellingham, is that not like a suburb of Vancouver anyway? Like, it's so close.
Basically, I mean,
Basically,
it's Washington, but yeah. So I think it's an hour from Bellingham to Vancouver.
Yeah, so that's a great opportunity, because you did get to bring some of your players to Calgary to that have come down to play with you from Vancouver.
Yes, they Maple Ridge Cornhole. There was 5 of them, 6 of them that came down. I don't remember, and most of them come and play in my regionals. Mike and Dustin had a I don't know. Oops, sorry. They come down. They play pretty regularly, and they're coming down and they're beating our top players here at my regionals. So it was good to see them be able to compete at the Canadian pro level. They both qualified to play in the shootout, and now they both say elite next to their names.
Well, because I was going to say, yeah, Dustin even made like a deep run in the pro singles as well.
Yes, he did. I think he ended up with 4th.
I was going to say, tied for 4th or tied for 3rd, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Oh, 3rd, I think. Yeah.
Which is for me, that was great to see, because we've been able to see with these opens now going into different spots with Quebec and Calgary coming on this year. It's opening me up to seeing so many other names people that I've only seen names possibly kind of that played here and there, but now actually see them play and actually perform well against some of our top players here in Canada.
Yeah, when I first met Dustin was my October and November regional. That was the first time he came down. Mike had been down a few times before the pandemic, so I knew him and how well he played. When Dustin came down, I watched him. We talked quite a bit. I let him know right away, you have what it takes to make the pro division. I think an error on my part was not fully explaining to him what he needed to do to be able to qualify and do it this year. Unfortunately, the timing of the Calgary qualifier didn't work out for Mike and Dustin to be able to make the trip. But now that they've attended an open and they've seen the higher level of competition and seeing how they hold up there, I think that we're going to see a lot more participation from the West in ACL events.
Exactly. Dustin was even in my chat on the weekend there for the Ontario conference. He was watching. I was like, "Oh, you're up really early," but he's a first responder, so he's like, "I'm awake and I'm at work anyway, so I'm just going to be watching cornhole, which is what everyone else does all the time anyway." So it's
right.
That's not a thing, but yeah, and hopefully and then maybe with them, maybe we can have some more representation, maybe down in Rock Hill where we had actually first met last year. We kind of briefed meeting there, and then was like, "Oh, we did meet when we seen in Calgary again."
I hope that we can. I know that even I've been talking to them about St. John's and getting over there for that, and the Canada National. It is so expensive to fly from the West Coast east, both like for me domestically to get from Seattle to Rock Hill, $500 to $800. It's very difficult to do, but for the guys coming down from Vancouver, it's even more. Flying from Vancouver to Toronto is $600 or $700 for them, which is like, $450 for me.
Yeah.
Flying through Canada instead of through the States. So it's a little bit difficult. It'll be exciting to see if we can get more opens out west and get a little bit more involvement from the players on the West Coast.
Exactly. That's what I'm hoping to see. I think kind of listing, and we're hoping to be able to at some point be able to get like an open in each province once we can get that going, because then our conference then will become each province as a conference on its own, instead of just having like the whole a few provinces. I mean, Ontario and Quebec being their own, and then everyone else is kind of lumped together in different regions, right? But that's kind of like where the like the way the US kind of is right now.
Yes, and I've been I had to figure out earlier this year how long I've been a director with the ACL. I've been directing this is my 6th season as a director, and I can remember back, 2018, the size of the ACL in the States at that time. And
Yes.
I think that was one of the things that I enjoyed the most about being in Calgary, was being able to see that they're in their infancy, where we're kind of like school age kids now as far as our sport growing. ACL Canada's in its infancy, and being able to see that smallness and togetherness again, and that was very exciting for me. And I've spoke with Matt and with Todd Kazicki a little bit this season. I have the ability to run ACL events in British Columbia. There is another league that has things, so trying to get in there and get them to be able to play nice in the sandbox hasn't been so easy. But I feel very optimistic for next season, being able to go in there, and hopefully we have some players in BC who want to be directors. I know that trying to have a provincial director out there right now, there's nobody who's really interested. But I think that as they see it grow, then that can happen a lot more quickly. I mean, when I started, Len Hyatt was a director here in Washington State, and Brian Tillett was a regional for a while, and then it was me and Len for the longest time being the only regional directors in the state. So I do know how difficult it is to build it, but I'm also really excited to see it grow and having that experience before with building it. I think next season we're going to see probably 2 or 3 times the number of players.
Yeah, and it's interesting you talk about the 2018 Worlds, which down in Cherokee, that was my first Worlds. I was part of the Canadian 6 that went down. That was part of Team Canada that went down. We thought we were like just this all great, because we were at that point, no one really knew that we were ACL, but we were ACL. We were actually part of the Great Lakes Conference up until we walked into that building, and we became Canada on its own. But yeah, just kind of going down there, like seeing the way we were here, I'm thinking, oh, we're all great players. And then we go down there, and it's like, we're not great. We're not great players at all.
The gap is closing, though.
Oh, it has.
Yeah, so much. So the first Worlds I went to was 2 years ago, the 2022. My first national event that I ever traveled to was actually on March 13th, 2020. That is also known as the day the world shut down. Yes. So we went to Cleveland for that and didn't actually have a national. But I noticed at Worlds, like seeing the Canadian players versus the US players, that there was a huge difference. I noticed this weekend or the other week in Calgary watching the players that I think there's a lot more of them that can compete with US pros now than there were even 2 years ago. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was in Cleveland that weekend as well, and that was the other hard part for us, is because we had like about 20 Canadians down there for that weekend that we were going to really go out, and it was like no. Not a no go. I got to be in the venue the Friday morning. I got to see what it all set up looked like and how awesome it would have been, but No.
I peeked through the windows. I have pictures from peeking through the windows.
Yeah.
Were you among the group of those of us that were naughty and just traveled from hotel to hotel playing cash games in different ballrooms?
No, I was gonna do that there, but then my ride we had to come back because there was talk of shutting the border down. So
Oh, that's right. You had to go home.
we had to fly back home, and it was just like, oh. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was quite the thing. But yeah, so getting into that Calgary, because like you said, you'd seen some players at Worlds, and now to see them at Calgary, what, some 5-6 months later.
Mhm.
I know for myself, I was impressed with the way a lot of the new players I've seen, but for a lot of those players were really new to you.
I was really impressed watching them play, and um, one thing that you don't see among a lot of new players is strategy and knowing when to try stupid stuff and when to play safe. And I was really impressed that a lot of the players who are they're relatively new, they understand that strategy and know when to shoot it or know when to block a now's not the time to push, play safe here. So I think that, that's what sets a lot of players apart is it, for the most part, high level players can just run the board hole for hole, whatever.
Mhm.
But watching some of the strategy play out and seeing how these new players can think it through, that was really good. I mean, I always say I watch enough cornhole that I'm a great coach, but I can't
Yep.
execute. I will forever be a competitive player, and I'm
Yep.
happy here. And I can't move back down because I do know what to do. So I'm just stuck here, competitive forever.
But I gotta say, looking back for Calgary for me is um, seeing Niagara and Drummondville ahead of that. I think there was so many American players came up, or the pros came up, so a lot of Canadians really couldn't show what they were kind of made of. And then really, Calgary was one where a lot of them were able to have that whole breakout thing where I found cornhole kind of changed, where they were playing that safe style to all of a sudden they're going for the big shots, and they're kind of making that. And then I even seen that then this weekend doing the Ontario conference is a lot more of the block game, like the block behind bags. And it was like, yes, I finally get to see, like, call cornhole. It's not just in the hole,
Mm.
off the board, in the hole. And I think that's where you were lucky to be able to see kind of the first breakout of the big stuff like that from
Oh, I am
Canadians.
lucky I got to see that then, because it was great watching them play, and I think that you're right, when you have the bigger opens and more US players come up, people are gonna play a safe style where they know they can score points. So, it was great. Another thing that I noticed in Calgary that I don't think I've seen at any US event, not at the regional level on up to the open level, is the skill level. I'm probably gonna get lynched for this. The skill level between the male players and the female players is very, very equal. You have the women that are going in and they're competing, didn't Lana win?
Yeah, she won the women's singles.
The women's singles,
Yes.
and, she went pretty deep in the open singles bracket.
Yep.
Um, and seeing the women at the top level competing, we have phenomenal women here in the States. You can't deny Cheyenne and
Mhm.
Cam and, I know I'm gonna forget other people, whatever. You all know I love you. They're top level, but if you look at even the top 10, 15, I haven't looked at standings in a while, 20 players, you're not seeing a lot of women rise to the top in the overall field. Um, but in Canada, you do see that. And that made me really happy to see that. I think that the men don't go into these games expecting an easy game.
Yeah,
I
not
don't
at
know
all.
what the male pros in America think. I am not one. But there is more competition keeping it equal there. And I hope that that stays.
Well, and that was one thing we talked about in the live feed was that going into Calgary, Valerie Mayo out of Newfoundland was the number one player in Canada coming in. Like we had a female
Yeah.
at number one, and then there was even some other players there. Like there was a Kathy Seibel out of Alberta as well. That was the first time I've seen the name, but the first time I got to see her play. She went deep in the bracket, and we've got Amanda Oakley out of Newfoundland as well, who won a singles, a women's singles. Another I know you got to talk with a lot was Crystal Higgins, who
Oh,
shot.
she was great.
She throws amazing all the time, and then you find out that she needs to have surgery to help her throw. That she's not even throwing 100%.
I know. I was so surprised when I heard that. I mean, I think that Crystal could easily hold her own against any of the top pros here in the States. And then to find out that she wasn't at the top of her game because she needs to have shoulder surgery or something.
Yeah.
I hope to see more Canadian women come down and play at Worlds this year. I'd love to see how they do stack up in the women's bracket against some of our top players.
Yeah, because we have there are so many female players here in Canada that it's our one thing where it's going to break out. Like I put a couple posts out this week about from the Ontario Conference itself. We got one of our OG players, Kim Pohl, who's been playing with us since 2016 when we started. She wins her first conference title. It's a competitive conference title, but still a conference title as it is, one more than her son has. But we're not going to talk about that, are we, Steve?
No, no.
But yeah, she gets that, and then a player who was intermediate just 2 years ago, trying to struggle, just a brand new player. Michelle Hunter gets fifth in open singles. One game away from a king seat game to play in that, and then with 9 pros in the field, she finishes higher than 7 of them. Right. And she's not
That's
a pro
awesome.
herself. So it's the women's game here is probably what's grown the most over the last really year. That it's been really impressive to see here.
I love that so much. I think often it's harder for us to get women to come out and play. Um, we do events that are women's every so often, or we'll have Jack and Jill events. But it is difficult to get your women to come out and play. So I love it so much that the sport is growing among women up
And
there.
especially, and then here in Ontario, we do have we've got Susan Sullivan that comes up and plays up here a lot from Buffalo, who I think she's an ACL elite this year as well, I believe,
Yes,
if
she
not a
is.
pro, right? So elite. And then even last year at Worlds, her and Lana Smith paired up in the women's doubles and finished 5th in women's doubles at Worlds, right? So
That's
it's
a run.
yeah, exactly, yeah. So
Good. Well, maybe I can land Valerie Mayo or Amanda Oakley to play with me at Worlds.
possibly, I don't know,
Lone
we can get them going, but yeah,
Canadian. Yep.
that thing is that cornhole here, like ACL has been in Canada here since 2016, and ACL Canada we've been on our own for like the past maybe 2 years here, but there's so much to grow here, and I talked to Trey Ryder about this a couple years ago, and you may have some thoughts on this as well, but we're still so young that haven't even seen our best players here in Canada yet, right? That
Right.
person hasn't even come out yet, because we've got so many young players. Like I've seen this weekend, I've seen a really young kid, Owen Boggs, who was just throwing some great bags, and you've got a Gage McMillan, who you got to see, the 16-year-old, the pro that we have here in Canada. That's just the level of his throw is just his focus and the way he goes is just fantastic.
I did get to speak with Gage a bit when I was out there, and he's great. He's a great kid too.
Yep.
Like just talking to him, he's very respectful and kind.
He doesn't seem
And
like
then
he's
I got
16.
no, he doesn't. And
Not
I
at
got
all.
to play with oh no, it'll come to me when I'm not thinking about it. Um, but I got to play with a 17, 16, 17-year-old that I was paired up with just through friends of friends. And the kids are there as well. They have the
Yep.
talent. Um, Gage, I talked to him though. I was thinking how lonely it must be to be the only junior player pro. So I'm excited to see what kind of kids come out. Hopefully, can get that growing with the youth, and then you guys are all going to be competing against the children like we are, and
Oh,
not love it.
that's why I do live feeds, because I don't have to play against those people anymore. So the other thing I have to ask you, because you're a regional director, the
Yes.
ACL coming out this year with the high school, the ACL high school. So
Yes.
has that have you been able to do anything with high schools then, like in your area?
I am working on it. Felix Morin was my partner's name.
Okay,
Drew a blank
yeah.
there.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah. His father,
okay.
who will be a pro as well next year, Guillaume
Yes, you will,
Morin,
Guillaume.
because I think he's qualified for a pro 2 of the 3 opens now so far.
Oh, good for him.
Right. So
So ACL High School, I am actually part of the group of directors that is trying to launch that here in the States. And I've had some conversations with a lot of younger players that want to see it in their schools. Getting in touch with some of the athletic directors has proven to be a little bit more challenging. I know that many of them are in their district offices at weird times over the summer. So that's kind of going to be my approach, is when they're not actually directing athletics in real time, see if I can get in there. Um, but the ACL is working hard to make it a recognized sport. I don't know about rules up there, but we have Title IX here, where it has to be equal. If it's something for boys, we have to have something for
yep.
girls as well. And so cornhole by itself is already Title IX compliant. As far as beginning sports, it's relatively inexpensive. But it'll be good to see the sport grow with high schoolers and start to become competitive at that level.
Well, because actually, Gage McMillan, his father, who's a director up here, I think just the other week or within the time from coming back from Calgary, he's been able to go with his league in Cannington. They've kind of reached out to their high schools there as well. They've already started setting up tournaments with
Oh, that's
the high schools
awesome.
there during school hours, so the kids get off school and they get to play cornhole. Like
Mm-hmm.
what better
What's
thing can you have?
better,
Exactly,
right?
yeah. So then I think they've got about 9 schools that are ready to go even next year to have like a like almost like a league type of thing, right? So I
Oh,
think
that's great.
it's kind of great for that there. So it's growing here. I think the ACL needs that, because then that's where we're going to get all of our new players from.
Oh, absolutely. And is that in Ontario or?
That's in Ontario, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you talked to Trey about it? Does Trey know what's going on up there?
I think Trey does a bit. Yeah, I've kind of been
Good.
trying to talk with him a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
it's good to see the growth and just see what's going on up there. Don't tell anybody. That was my favorite open I've attended in a couple of years.
actually, what it was kind of one of my funner isn't a word, but that's what it was for me.
It
It was
is,
one
yeah.
of my better ones. I know for myself, because there I the other ones I've kind of had some family there, so I was doing some other stuff during the events, and but that one there was when I was just be able to focus on cornhole itself, and it was just great, because I know for me, my regular job has me up early in the morning, so when I go to events, I know some people are upset that I don't get to that I'm not doing rounders or whatever when I get there early in the morning. It's just because I can't sleep in, so I might as well show up at the venue at 8:30 in the morning and watch 6 rounds of rounders, and kind of get to talk to some people and be able to see some stuff that I can't see when I'm doing live feeds.
I think that has a high value both for you as a broadcaster and for the players, though. And I've done some live streaming from different events. A couple years ago, I was on a live stream for all of Worlds, and it's exhausting. I don't think people
Oh,
realize it's
exactly.
exhausting talking. I mean, I'm a talker, but talking all day for that long and trying to keep up with it. But then there's also the aspect of you get to be there and you get to talk to some players and pick up little tidbits about them. And then when they're on your court, you can offer more than bags in, bags in, bags in,
Yeah.
right? You know, a little personal commentary there. Um, Rounders is hardly ever streamed
Yeah.
here in the
Yeah.
States. I think that K9 Unit Wally will live stream it for his subscribers. So if you want to watch Rounders, shout out to Wally. If you want to
Yeah.
watch Rounders, subscribe to K9 Unit.
Yeah.
I expect $5 back this month.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and I'm trying to. I'm setting up subscribers for the down and back stuff, so I might be able to do that
Mhm.
with the down and back stuff here as well. But it's just, it makes brackets go like 6 hours to begin with, and then having
Yeah,
that other 6 hours of
the
talking rounders
that's
is like
12 hours of
yeah,
live, and then especially when you're there talking by yourself, that's 12
yeah.
hours of talking to yourself.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if people
I'm crazy
realize.
enough as it is. I
Right.
don't need any more of that. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's if you think playing for those 12 hours is hard, try sitting in a chair just kind of talking and
Mm.
trying to keep cameras going and sound and
Right, and I
yeah.
don't think that people realize that you're also contracted to be on the air for certain events and for a certain amount of time,
Yeah.
and not everybody is gonna work when they're not getting paid for it.
Well,
If
and
that's a
and that
job, you know?
and rounders, if you look at how many because when you're doing rounders, you have all the games have to be played. So there's not going to be all games on that court. So you may have 20 minutes of games, then you've got 40 minutes of dead
Yep.
air that you got to make up. And then I'm getting messages from the higher ups saying, "Why are you live without games? What's going on?" And I'm
Yeah,
trying,
just like the sound of
right?
my own voice, that's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's that. So how can people? We've already kind of said with that there. So what's the region that you're in? Is it just Bellingham?
I cover from, basically Seattle, north to the border and beyond. Um, so my regionals this season have been in Bellingham. That's where the majority of my players are. Um, but I mean, I'm on Facebook. You can follow my Facebook. It's Emerald City Cornhole.
Okay.
That's where my stuff is posted. We have a Seattle Cornhole page that's just general area. Um, I'm not even sure who's running that one right now. And then again, you register for my events on iplaycornhole.com.
Okay, well, I'll put those in the description links to those there in the description as well because then that's just more chances for people can because people have to there's some people new players that don't really realize that for conferences are only for people in that conference. Regionals or locals anyone can go to, but
Correct.
it's the conferences that are just for the people there, and I know it's frustrating at times, but
Yeah, and that's
it's
the
kind
same.
of
We
how it
have our
is.
state tournament the end of June, but that's just for people who live in Washington State. But as we were saying before, the more people that join ACL and play from British Columbia, that area, we're going to be able to have a conference out there or provincials or something like that. See how I'm bilingual now?
Yes.
Canadian English, US English. Uh, and we'll be able to have those things. And if anybody is interested in signing up as a director, I am happy to come up and help you get your feet in the water and, get it going. Um,
So like you
'Cause
said
the
before,
impact
you're
grows.
gonna be helping out Aaron with the conference in the West as well too. So that's
There's
kind of
a good chance if I ever get dates for it. And I'm gonna try to make it out to St. John's, um, just
that's
because it's another Canadian Open, and that's where my grandfather's family was from.
okay. That's that's
Mm.
even more reason to go down there.
Yeah, I am basically Canadian. I was raised in Alaska. I have my grandparents' family from Newfoundland, I'm basically Canadian.
Well, then that's you're a Canadian director to us. So it's not so. So I have to ask because the way we end the show all the time, you've got I've seen there's the Shot Kings in the back there. Do you have any sponsors or anything that you have that you want to give shout outs to?
Um, you know, Shot Kings and I have had a good relationship for the last several years. Out of Arizona, shotkingscornhole.com. Cowboy Cornhole out of Southern Oregon. Um, I just drew a blank. Medford, I think. And then Bag Queens out of Seaside, Oregon. I believe Tracy. Nope, wrong person. Different Tracy. But Bag Queens out of Seaside, Oregon. They've been very supportive and helpful for me as well.
Exactly. And everyone knows my stuff. We got jccornhole.com because everyone knows Jamie Cowan, and he'll get any of the boards you want. He'll do whatever you want to have on the board. Jamie will put on there for you. SierraHome.com. If you're in Edmonton, Alberta, I didn't get the chance to talk with Darren. I wanted to do some stuff with Darren there when I was up in Calgary. I drove north to Edmonton, which that road really needs some turns. It's a straight road for 2 hours.
Oof.
Yeah. So SierraHome.com. Darren will do all of your home inspection needs. And of course, portion out there will also go to a children's hospice in Edmonton. And then Harris Beach Spirits. I always say, Josh, I need another bottle of this. I need another bottle. So, Suzzanne, if you come to St. John's, I'll bring a bottle.
Okay.
We'll be able to try that rye out. That, and you'll be able to find me. I'm going to be heading to see Luann at the County Cornholers in Picton, Ontario. Cornhole for a Cause. We got the Elks Lodge in Picton. County Cornholers on Facebook. You can talk to Luann, get signed up for that. I believe registration ends May 26th for that event. So make sure you get signed up. Only 56 people will be in it. And then another one. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to make this one because I've got another prior commitment to something else for another show that I do. Cornapalooza 2024, July 12th to 14th, Lindsay Fairgrounds. Unfortunately, you might be out for the early bird now, but I think there's still spots available. You can get camping there all weekend. They're going to have bands. It's going to be Spencer's North is what it's going to be, is what I've been told.
Fun.
Except you're not going to have a beach or ocean.
I would say except for maybe not on the ocean in the California
not have all that
sun.
heat. You got some heat, but not the heat that you're going to have at Spencer's. But I know one thing. There'll be no wind. You will not have the wind that they have at Spencer's.
That would be guaranteed. There wasn't any.
Oh no, I was okay. I still haven't had the chance. Trey, if you're watching,
anybody who hasn't made it to Spencer McKenzie's really should.
I need to get there. I need to get there. So Suzzanne, thank you for joining me here, and hopefully we'll see each other in St. John's and maybe get you back on the mic again. Doing some games, and that should be fun because get some rest. That's a very long weekend. That's a late night long weekend event is what that one is.
Okay.
What I remember last year. From what I remember of it last year. But other out there, again, thank you for coming on. And for everyone else, make sure you're watching the Saturday Night Hang when Donnie McPhee and I kind of talk whatever you want to talk about. We talk about cornhole. We talk about fast food. We talk about
that is a fun chat. Donnie McPhee and Doug, you guys don't miss that one. Thank you so much for having me on, Doug.
Oh, it's great. And for everyone else, just have fun, be nice to each other, and try not to throw it short like me.